Good morning. Well, yeah, that I would say was a good description what we do with Datarella. Actually, after having been dealing with different data sets over the course of the last 20 years, my experience is that most of the value that is in data stays remnant. So if you compare what I display to you now with the approach that targeting companies like Nugget take. Nugget, for example, takes the inventory, the ad inventory of websites that is, I would say, at least hard to sell, and brings value in that by qualifying the audiences. And you could do exactly the same with data, and that is the idea of Datarella. So Datarella tells the fairy tale of the sleeping beauty that is slumbering in your data vaults. Datarella was founded by me a year ago, and we had some rather fancy projects running already. For example, the Human Meme Project. This is some 100 million images that get propagated in a viral way, for example, on Twitter. And the interesting thing is to get into the content of these images, you don't need image recognition algorithms. You just see the paths of propagation, for example, on Twitter. And this is a highly political thing because in the Arab Spring, of course, it was hard for people to organize demonstrations, and people started to circumvent the governmental surveillance by not appointing and not organizing their protests by plain text, but by using calligraphy, which no OCR algorithm could decode, but everyone could read. And you just write with a pen all the information in a calligraphic way on a piece of paper and photograph that and post that. And the interesting thing is, with an algorithm like that, with looking on the propagation paths of these pictures, the pattern would reveal the content of this image without really looking into the image. And this is one of the examples of projects that we did. Of course, we didn't sell that to authoritarian dictatorships, but you could, of course, use that to get some information on brand-related images as well. But this is not what I was going to tell you today. I would directly, I would say, take the inspiration I took yesterday of Lisa Green's great presentation. Lisa told us that data would reveal people's wants and political opinions. And that is certainly true. And the project that I'm, well, I would say, already started tampering with, like on TechCrunch we read, would like to disrupt politics, as we have seen the Web 2.0 would disrupt other markets as well. Politics is certainly the most interesting, most fascinating market to disrupt. And so I sketched the project of the data Pollster. If you see political decision making, after the 1920s, when Gallup and survey companies like Gallup would start doing questionnaire-based surveys, this is the way politicians nowadays would see what their voters are up to. So to fulfill their obligations as a decision maker to represent their voters, they would ask their voters what would be their opinion to certain topics. So in Germany, most prominent, of course, is Elisabeth Noelle-Neumann's Allensbach Institute, but we have several others, like Forschungsgruppe Wahlen of ZDF or TNS and the like. The problem with survey data is obvious. You only get back what you have asked for. So speaking in Donald Rumsfeld's terms, you only get the known unknowns at best. But most interesting would be, to keep in Donald Rumsfeld's fantastic lyrical words, to see into the unknown unknown, so to recognize patterns that you haven't been looking after. And a second disadvantage of survey-based data is the time lag. Take, for example, the Geschäftsklima-Index, the Business Climate Index that is issued every month in Germany, one of the most important economic indices for any market. The time lag is, I would say, 6 weeks or so after month end. Take, for example, the unemployment rates that are published not sooner than 6 weeks after month end. So the time lag between the actual event taking place and the data you would have available as a decision maker, and not only as a politician, but also as a journalist or a decision maker in a corporation, would be significant. And if you, for example, just try out and upload the time series of unemployment rates to Google Correlate, you would immediately get high correlation to certain search terms. And high correlation, I mean an R-square of, say, 99. Google search terms I can access every day. So as a politician, I could know 6 weeks in advance how the unemployment rate that would be published by the agency would really look like. And this is the idea between the idea of Datarella, data Pollster. Just see what correlations are there, what patterns could be recognized of data that is originally not meant for doing so. And well, during the last 2 years, I would say, dealt quite a lot with targeting data, very similar to Nugget's targeting data, and the briefing was show something that would fit into the Nugget ecosystem. And I'm completely aware of, and I don't speculate about that, I know that is true, that behavioral data that you gather with targeting systems like Nuggets, but it doesn't need to be Nuggets, could be others also, would provide exactly these correlations to provide you with the information you need as a decision maker. And so, I would say the Datarella data Pollster is really fit to wake some really interesting value that is slumbering in Nuggets data also. And of course, the advantages are obvious. As I said, you would get unconstrained view on people's opinions, could recognize patterns that you have not been looking for. You would see interesting long-running correlations. You would recognize connections between different topics that you wouldn't be aware of in the first sight. And the fantastic thing is in real time. So no waiting, you would have it on a daily basis. And it would come from the voter's reality. It would be just observed data, not survey data, where you imply your own opinions by formulating your question. So, the clients are also obvious. It's not only political decision makers in political parties themselves. It could also be the journalists that would highly profit from a service like that. And of course, it would be the political advisors in corporations that would need to influence politicians in their political decision. And this concept I will roll out during the next weeks or so, and would really be interested in getting support from Nugget and really try out what we can draw of the, of course, then anonymized records that lie slumbering in Nugget's data vault. So, and that's it. Well, I'm happy to tell you more now if you have any questions. Yes, please.
I like the idea, but how does that work exactly? How do you I understand how you can cluster people
Thank you. You know, interest in all the things, but how do you correlate that with their political intent? If you don't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, you need to know something about what people interest. Well, there's of course things that you can take directly, like the posts that you get from Twitter, for example. People express themselves. You can take that as a start. You can build a Twitter persona, as it is called. So you find stereotypes of people that you cluster and use that as a starting point, and then match the targeting data with that. Second is you can. Some things you could also directly derive from the targeting data itself. That would, for example, be the content of websites visited. If you have, for example, news websites or other sources of information for people, you can see shifting patterns. You can see peaks when people start looking for certain information. And you can draw this from the data. And the third, and I would say most promising and most straightforward thing is you take the survey data. Actually, I'm absolutely not criticizing the quality of the survey data itself. It's just a time lag and constraints that I mentioned. So you take what you have in the survey data and correlate that with the time series and the behavioral data that you gather. And from this correlation, after that, you can start building models and use these models, and you just have to adjust the models from time to time with the survey data again. And this, I would say, is the most easy thing to do because I've already done that. That was also a project done together with Deutsche Post 5 years or so for Hubert Burda. We matched the direct mail data set of Deutsche Post with Typologie der Wünsche, which used to be the largest survey on media and marketing-related questions in Germany, and could, by doing so, tell interesting things about addresses, like how likely would it be that someone living in that flat would have a dog without really knowing that. And I think this project called Media Mail is still running. And the algorithms, the way of matching has greatly improved since then. So we have now the tools like the Hadoop environment, unstructured, NoSQL databases and the like are as a statistics tool that is perfectly fitting distributed computing. So all problems that we would have faced 6 years ago while doing this project for Deutsche Post have vanished away in a technology-driven way. So.
Okay, I think the idea is great. My colleagues at Nugget would know that I'm a great believer in correlation, much more than in causality. The only question I have about it, what's the precise product you would like to sell? Is it a professional service? Is it a software as a service? And what kind of sales channels would you like to employ to get it into the market?
Yeah, well, the product itself, I tried to sketch it during my holiday in Croatia, would be at first a dashboard-like system that we could provide, for example, to the members of parliament or to journalists, where on a daily basis or a weekly basis they would get updates on their specific fields of interest. Like here, for example, you could find clusters that you could correlate to certain groups of voters, like first voter or male or female and the like. So demographic or social topics, or you could drill down after that and really see what people would have been talking about, or what website would really stay behind these analysis. Or you would have some, I would say, brand equity about politicians and the like. So this would be the starting product, a dashboard. Actually, the data is there, so we could really start putting that together. But I wouldn't stop there. Of course, there would be a really interesting field of consultancy behind that. And Well, after that, the service you offer is quite similar to that of TNS or GFK and other Pollster services. And I would say in the long run, it would be straightforward to package that with survey data, for example, and sell it together.
Yeah, well, one thing that struck me, it's not my point, you could do a dashboard on gender gap data as well, you know, the stuff Teresa mentioned earlier, so perhaps that would work nicely as well. But my question is, obviously, you know, you have to talk about privacy. It's, of course, I think it's obvious. You know, yesterday we had this, you know, different cultural perceptions of privacy concepts, you know, like money I earn, and the political decision, you know, the political party I elected and all this kind of stuff in Germany, and I think in many European countries, is not only by law, but also by culture, something really private, you know, by people. And in this case, we have a very nice example where it suddenly, we are able, through algorithms and big data, we are able to retrieve it somehow from data where people did not expect to show that. What do you think about that? Will we run into something where people will be scared, or are we totally fine?
Well, of course, you could build a very spooky thing out of that. What we tried out, for example, was matching people's timelines on social networks like Twitter or Facebook with the political party programs. And you can clearly see what party preferences someone would have. And not because people would use political terms in their timelines, but just of the, I would say, similarity between the languages. And of course, this is spooky. And this is taking Dana Boyd's quote, making things that are public, but not meant to be very public, more public is a breach of privacy, and I strongly believe in that. So what we have to do here is to completely anonymize the data, aggregate the data somehow, and make sure that there is no link between the real person behind that. I've been dealing with grassroots politics and mapping went to all things with politics for the last 2 years intensively, as you know. And I think you can deal with that in an open way. You just have to tell people that there is no link and show them everything you do. And of course, political opinion is the innerst part of privacy meant by the law also, and so we should really openly address that. But of course, I'm willing to do that.
And you're also out of time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.